Und damit willkommen zurück zu Lamplight City. Es ist jetzt schon ein bisschen her, dass ich das letzte Mal gespielt habe. Das liegt daran, dass ich in der Zwischenzeit umgezogen bin. Und jetzt woanders wohne. Und mich auch deswegen jetzt erstmal wieder zurechtfinden muss. Genau. Aha. Ein Schlafzimmer. Das ist schon mal gut. Wo war's? Wo zur Hölle? Ach ja.
Sit tight, Mrs. Harris. I may have more questions for you later.
I'm sure the only location the Harrises care about is wherever they are at any given moment.
Der Grund, warum ich jetzt gerade spiele, ist, dass ich Unforeseen Incidents fertig habe, was übrigens ein fantastisches Spiel ist, kann ich nur empfehlen.
I wouldn't get too close, Miles. That vase is probably worth more than your entire building. She looks like she's up to something.
Und jetzt
The Harris family certainly has a nice view from which to look down upon the world.
möchte ich
I
ein
wonder
bisschen
if they
weiter
use the
Detektiv
balcony to
spielen,
give speeches to the gardeners.
weil, ja, ich mag Point-and-Clicks, habe ich festgestellt. So. Was ist das denn?
Fancy. Some poor servant's probably gonna get a flogging for leaving it in here, though.
Ein, Staubsauger. Interessant.
Fancy.
Fancy!
Who in their right mind would need that many drawers?
Let's see what we have here. A very poorly written letter addressed to Mr. Harris.
I don't suppose it's a letter of admiration.
On the contrary, the author seems quite upset.
Mr. Harris, this is your weekly weekly? Okay, ich sehe, was Sie meinen. Reminder of how much I hate you. Because of you, my wife is dead. My wife was a wonderful woman, and you have taken her from me. I hope you suffer as much as I have. Arthur Devins.
Nothing else of note in any of the drawers.
Oh well, at least we got to play a rousing game of Search the Rich People's Dresser.
Schade.
Wardrobes are usually always full of wonderfully dark secrets.
Ja, dann lass uns doch mal in den Wardrobe reingucken.
More lacy underthings. I wonder which Harris they belong to. Paperwork and receipts. Nothing particularly interesting here.
Schade.
Yeah, it seems like this is where Mrs. Harris keeps her unmentionables. I like the ones with the frills and the stitched cat.
Unterwäsche.
One thing is for certain. Mr. Harris uses entirely too much starch on his shirts.
Stärke. Das ist auch was man heute nicht mehr macht. T-Shirts stärken.
One thing is for certain. An empty suitcase. I suppose Mr. Harris must travel every now and then. More lacy under... Mr. Harris's color selection is almost as drab as yours.
Let's see if there's anything of interest in any of the pockets.
So, Mr. Harris is a fan of the ponies, is he? I'm sure that's not causing him any trouble at all.
Number of beds, 10. Bed amount, 250. Name of horse. Possessive? Possessive? Tja. Date of race, 8. Oktober.
Mr. Harris's color selection... Yeah, it seems... Painting of the city. Probably the only time the Harris family sees any of the other boroughs.
Hat ja eine vorgefertigte Meinung.
Oh, another four-poster. The Harris family certainly makes no secret of their wealth.
Was ist denn ein Vorposter?
Oh.
Aha.
It looks like a pile of women's clothes. Must belong to Mrs. Harris.
There's a handwritten note among the clothes.
Miriam, baby, I have to see you tonight. It's been far too long. R. Wer ist denn bitte Miriam?
Nothing else hidden among the clothes. Too bad.
Das ist echt bad. Really sad.
Fancy.
I have some questions for you, Mr. Harris.
Yes, of course.
Mr. Harris, what can you tell me about these?
What? How did you...
Listen, I'm trying to help you and your family. I can't do it if I don't get the entire truth.
Do you think we could discuss this somewhere more private?
I suppose we could.
Good. Let's move to the nursery then.
Shall we continue our conversation, Mr. Harris?
Yes, of course.
I found this letter in your bedroom. What can you tell me about it?
You went through our things?
I'm a private investigator, Mr. Harris. It's part of my job.
Of all the insolence!
You're upset, I know, but do you want me to find your son or don't you?
Yes, of
Warum hat
course
man
I do.
auch
That letter
dreckige
was sent to me by
Geheimnisse?
mistake. It was written to my father. Well, if you can even call that writing.
Have I ever mentioned how much I hate rich people? Because I really hate rich people.
Ist okay.
Your father. Doesn't he own the company building the new airship?
Yes, that's right. He's been receiving many letters just like that one since the Ligeia disaster. But that
Bill,
Devons
heißt
fellow in
Bill.
particular has sent one every week,
Hab ich
along with a
vergessen.
bag of chicken bones and dust.
How peculiar.
Not only that, he leads a daily protest in front of the construction yard where the HMS Lenore is being built, trying to halt production. My God! How did I not see this before?
Was?
See what?
Devons! He has a grudge against this family because of what happened with the Ligeia. I
Wem?
put money on him being involved with the kidnapping somehow, as a form of retaliation.
I'll just have to speak with Mr. Devons and see for myself.
Speak with Mr. Ja, okay.
Now that your wife is out of earshot, tell me about the kidnapping and what these betting stubs have to do with it.
Right. As I said before, it had already happened when I got home. I had just come from spending the evening at the meadows.
I see. I take it your wife isn't impressed by your hobby?
I promised her weeks ago that I would stop going, but I've had such a good streak lately.
Sagen die
The last
Süchtigen
thing I
alle.
wanted was to upset her further, yet it would be foolish of me to just give up on something so promising.
Can you think of anyone who might want to do you harm by taking your son?
Several, I'm afraid.
Go on.
I haven't exactly had the best of luck, Mr. Fordham. That's why this latest streak was so important to me. The truth is, I've gambled away most of my money. I've had to take
Tja.
out several loans so Miriam doesn't get suspicious. If she
Süchtige.
ever found out, it would be over. I can't lose her, Mr. Fordham. I just can't.
Where have I heard this before? You know, things would be so much easier if people just talked to each other.
I've tried doing business above board, but lately I've
Stimmt,
had
ja.
to seek other resources.
What do you mean?
I was forced to visit a lending office.
Oh,
The owner was a
oh.
rather shady Sambo, but I figured he'd be easier to deal with than the usual sheenies that run those type of places.
Can you believe this guy? Maybe we should just leave the kid be. He'd probably be better raised by wolves.
Who was the owner?
Mr. LeFay. I didn't bother to get his first name. His business is an abattoir row in Chumley. Horrid place. But I was desperate.
Wie hat das gerade
You think
ausgesprochen?
this Mr.
Chumley?
LeFay may have taken your son as
Ich sag einfach
collateral?
als Chumley.
Let's just say there isn't much those type of people wouldn't do to put a crown in their pocket.
Mhm. Was ist denn die HMS Lenore?
How goes the construction of the new airship?
There have been some complications, but nothing we can't handle.
Could you be a bit more specific?
Well, I already told you about the trouble with protesters at the yard, and we're blocked pending Royal Maverick's review of the safety regulations for the prototype etheric diffusion engines. Agitators and red tape aside, we should still be on schedule to have the Lenore finished and in the air by the end of the year. But really, Mr. Fordham, what the deuce does this have to do with finding Charles?
He
Alles.
has a point, you know.
Those are all the questions I had for now.
All right. If you don't mind, Mr. Fordham, I'm going back to the living room. I don't want Miriam getting suspicious.
I have some questions for you if you're up to answering them, Mrs. Harris.
I'll try my best, Mr. Fordham.
I found this note in your bedroom. What can you tell me about it?
I've never seen that note before in my life.
Are you absolutely sure?
Mr. Fordham, you mentioned you valued discretion. I ask you to please exercise some now.
Would it be possible to speak about this in private? In another room, perhaps?
Out of the question, Mr. Fordham. I shall not leave this sitting room in the company of another man if my husband is not present.
Yes, I understand. Let's put the subject on hold for now.
What a life these rich people lead. All the money in the world and they're trapped like rats.
That's all for now, Mrs. Harris.
Very well.
I'll let you know if I have any more questions, Mr. Harris.
Kann ich denn irgendwo hin? Ja, kann ich. Also hier bin ich gerade. Das ist Mrs. Davis' Quarter.
Come in.
Good day to you, ma'am. I'm Miles Fordham, a private investigator. I'm looking into the kidnapping of Charles Harris. Are you Mrs. Davis?
I am. Oh, bless the spirits. They've sent someone to help at last.
Dann gucke ich mich erstmal hier um.
Another Harris hand-me-down, no doubt. You'd think they would have washed it first. Seems like that boiler's the only thing in here that's less than 10 years old. My mother had a pewter teapot as well. Always made the tea taste funny. That chest is full of undressed dolls? What the hell is wrong with this old bat?
Hatte sie gerade Fledermaus genannt?
It's a spirit reaching out to a very frightened man. Possibly the fakest looking photo I've ever seen.
Nicht nett.
Painting of a tower on a Scottish moor. I wish I'd been able to make it over there. This looks like a mourning portrait of a young woman. Probably a relative of Mrs. Davis. Painting of a misty forest with a cemetery in the background. Cheery stuff. Her Majesty Queen Jessica. This was clearly
Jessica.
painted a long time ago. Pretty distinguished looking gentleman. Handsome. Good fashion sense. Wonder who he is.
Ja.
These are all books on spiritualism and the occult. Mrs. Davis doesn't seem to have many other hobbies. These are all books. Pretty distinct. The Harris family doesn't seem to hold the comfort of their servants in very high regard. I
Wieso
think
das
a bed of
Bett ist
nails
doch
would be an
okay?
improvement.
Hä?
A boy taking a nap under a tree while his dog runs around in the distance. That brings back some good memories.
I have some questions for you, Mrs. Davis.
Reden wir mal
All
mit ihr.
right.
Tell me about the kidnapping of Charles Harris.
Oh, dear. May the spirits forgive me. I feel so awful. Charlie was my responsibility, and I failed.
Mrs. Davis, that is beside the point. What's important now is finding him and bringing him home. To do that, I need your full cooperation.
Oh, you're right, Mr. Fordham. I'm sorry. I just need to collect my thoughts, get the negative vibrations out of my mind. Now, what specifically would you like to know?
Alles.
What time did the kidnapping occur?
I'm not entirely sure. I know
Gut.
I was in the nursery having a cup of tea about 8:30.
Tee. Ich kann
I
Tee machen.
remember feeling very drowsy. I must have passed out then because the next thing I knew, I was being woken by Mrs. Harris. To think, whoever took Charlie did it while I was in the room. Oh, may the spirits grant me peace.
Do you happen to take any sort of sleep medications or soporifics?
Oh, dear me, no. Those types of drugs cloud the mind and make it impossible to tune into the ether.
You say that as though it were a bad thing.
I beg your pardon?
Apologies, I spoke out of turn. Can you think of anyone who would have wanted to take the child?
Well, I'm not one to gossip, but I am quite sensitive to the energy and vibrations that people give off. I get the impression that Mr. and Mrs. Harris aren't very happy in their marriage.
Ah, come on, anyone could have picked up on that. Anyone except you, that is.
Mr. Harris likes to stay out late and not take his wife with him. I can't remember the last time they went out together. I don't know what he gets up to, but it's possible he may have made some enemies.
Can you think of any reason why someone would want to kidnap Charles?
It might have been for money, but last I heard, there was no demand for a ransom. I honestly don't know why this happened, Mr. Fordham. I just hope you find the poor child. He must be scared to death.
I found this piece of torn fabric in the nursery. Does it look familiar to you?
No, it doesn't. I'm sorry.
I found this button in the baby's crib. Do you recognize it?
Why, yes. That's one of Barney's eyes.
Ein Teddybär.
Barney.
Charlie's stuffed bear. It's his favorite toy, a gift from my friend Linda.
I
Linda.
didn't find a stuffed bear in the nursery.
Then whoever took the baby must have taken Barney as well. Oh, at least the poor thing has something to comfort him. Bless the spirits.
Who is Linda?
Mrs. Linda Walker. She's a good friend of mine. As I said, she gave me Barney as a gift for Charlie.
Can you tell me anything else about her?
Oh, she's a lovely girl, very much in tune with her spiritual nature. I greatly enjoy my conversations with her.
Diese
When was the last
Spiritualität.
time you saw her?
Oh, I don't remember. No, wait. It was at the last Spectre Society meeting on the 19th. That's right.
What is the Spectre Society?
It's a club for spiritualists and amateur investigators of the paranormal. We meet twice a month to socialize and discuss our findings.
I see. Sounds fascinating.
No, I don't expect you to share my beliefs, Mr. Fordham.
Oh, I have a bit more experience than you'd think with regards to the spirit world.
You can say that again.
Where exactly do these meetings take place?
At a private residence in Gascon.
May I have the address?
Why, yes, it's 325 Rue Jameau. Are you going to seek spiritual guidance to find Charlie?
Nein.
Perhaps. You never know what might be worth looking into.
Nein.
That's a lovely portrait. Who is it of?
That is my late husband, Jonathan. He used to attend meetings of the Spectre Society with me, bless him. I tried to get him to be more in tune with the other side, but I think he was just humoring me. He was a good man. Everyone at society cared for him very much.
Do you have Linda Walker's address?
No, I don't. I never visited her home. I get the feeling she doesn't like having visitors or being home very much. She prefers to meet people elsewhere. I was the same way after my husband died. It was embarrassing for my friends to see me living so differently. But I feel it's not just a matter of pride for dear Linda. I think there are lots of bad memories associated with where she lives. I try to stay away from places like that. They leave a mark on the soul, you know.
Aha.
I couldn't help but notice that chest full of dolls in the corner.
Oh, that. Oh, I know it must look a bit strange, but I pick up old and broken dolls so they can be repaired and donated to orphanages. It's my way of giving back to the community and helping poor children who have nothing to play with.
Well, what a kind soul. I wish you would find less creepy ways to express her altruism.
Ja.
How long have you worked as a nanny?
Only a few years. I never had to work when I was married. My husband had a lot of money. Unfortunately, he was in great debt, and after the spirits took him back to the ether, I wasn't left with much. So I began working as a nanny to make ends meet. But I consider taking care of children a reward in its own right.
Thank you for your time, Mrs. Davis.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Ja, toll. Tja, und jetzt?
These are all books on... My mother had a... Seems like that... Another Harris hand...
Gut, jetzt habe ich mit ihr gesprochen. Find out who or what SS is. Speak with Arthur Devins at the Harris Construction Yard. Speak with Mr. LeFay, the moneylender. Learn about Lina Walker at the Spectre Society. Okay. Okay. Entschuldigung, wieso ich das tue.
I suppose it's for a good cause, but that doesn't make it any less disturbing.
True. Tschüss, Mrs.
I'll be going now,
Davis.
Mrs. Davis.
May the spirits guide your
Nein,
path.
nix Spirits. So. Dann gehen wir mal zum Construction Yard.
And so we say to Harris and his cronies, no, we will not stand for this. Too many have died to allow this to continue. Steam tech must be stopped.
Aha. Das ist schlecht.
The time has come to reject steam machines. They take our jobs, they take our families, they take our lives.
Well, someone certainly wasn't shy about making their opinion known. Rich people...
Reden wir mal mit dem Rädelsführer.
Pardon me, are you Arthur Devins by any chance?
Yes? Who are you?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. Could I ask you a few questions?
Guess so, yeah.
Why are you out here protesting?
Because what Harris Construction is doing ain't right. I lost my wife in the Lygia crash, and I'm not the only one, neither. Hundreds of people were affected by that disaster. And
Ist
now
das ein
these
Schiffsunglück
bastards are
gewesen?
making another airship.
Ach nee,
It's like a
ein
slap in the face to everyone who died.
Zeppelin.
I just can't understand it.
What do you hope to accomplish by protesting?
Simple. We want construction of the Lenore stopped, and a full investigation into the Lygia disaster. Not only that, we want compensation for our losses. Royal Maverick took care of all the families of those on board, but the families of the ones in the park didn't get a single copper. It just isn't fair. We aim to make things right. After that, it'll just be a matter of time before people realize that there's no future in steam tech, and they'll call the whole thing off.
Ah, the innocence of the downtrodden. I wish I could be as naive as them. It would have made my life a lot easier.
You recognize this letter, Mr. Devins?
How'd you get that? That wasn't meant for you.
I found it at the home of Mr. Malcolm Harris. He tells me you've been sending quite a few of these to his father.
Me and everyone else would had someone killed by that devil machine. I'm not the only one, you know.
Perhaps not, but he told me you were the most persistent. What have you got against the Harris family?
The family? Don't know nothing about the family. The only one I got a problem with is Clyde Harris, the one who owns this yard. He's just like all those other rich bastards with their heads in the clouds. The man don't care about the dead. He just wants to make as much money as he can.
Das glaube
I'm
ich ihm
just trying to
sogar.
make him realize how wrong he is.
Do you know anything about the kidnapping of Charles Harris?
Charles Harris? Who's that?
Clyde Harris's grandson.
I didn't even know he had a grandson. I can't believe someone with a grandkid, a family, would want more flying death in the air. How many more people have to die before someone realizes that steam machines are evil? People will kill their own mams for a crown these days.
Knochen? Welche Knochen?
Mr. Harris told me
Ah.
you send a bag of chicken bones and dust along with your letters. Why is that?
Chicken bones? Dust? Nah, that's not right. I've only sent letters.
Are you certain of that?
Yes, as sure as I'm standing here.
Right. And I'm the queen. I get the feeling this guy will crack if we figure out what the significance of his little gift is.
You must have loved your wife very much.
Are you joking? I loved her more than there are stars in the sky. She was my whole world, Mr. Fordham, the light of my life. It's been nothing but cold and dark since she was killed. You're married, aren't you, Mr. Fordham? I see a ring on your finger.
I am, yes.
Then take my advice. Appreciate every moment you have with her. You never know when she'll be ripped out of your life, leaving you with nothing.
You know, this fellow was actually pretty wise. Maybe we misjudged him.
Ist okay, aber ist ein bisschen radikal.
Does this piece of fabric look familiar to you?
Looks like it came from some fancy jacket, the type you'd expect to see on the snobs in Leon. I could never afford clothes like that in a million years.
Do you recognize this button?
Can't say I do, but it looks handmade. I wonder how long it will be before the poor soul who crafted that button gets booted into the street, replaced with some
sieht doch
steam-belching contraption.
Verbrechen.
You seem very dedicated to your cause.
I'll take that as a compliment, Mr. Fordham.
There's quite a lot of people who are against steam tech, aren't there?
Yes, the movement is gaining ground and growing rapidly, I'm pleased to say.
I've heard stories about some more extreme members. Do you know anything about that?
You mean the Redites? Sure, I've heard of them. Even met a few. But if you think I'm telling you anything else beyond that, you're sorely mistaken.
Are you a member of the Redites, Mr. Devons?
No, I prefer more peaceful methods of making my voice heard. Now, if you don't mind, I think we should drop the subject.
Good day to you,
Können wir.
Mr. Devons.
You too, Mr. Fordham.
Interessant.
I suddenly remembered a joke. What's the difference between the HMS Lenore and Chief Snelling? One is a greatly disliked and untrustworthy sack of hot air, and the other is the HMS Lenore.
Ich wusste es.
Tom Harris has no concern for the people who died aboard the Lygia or their families.
Now that is an impressive piece of machinery.
The only
Now that... Don't these people have jobs they need to go to? But the way this gate is set up, I think trespassers should get an award for being able to breach the fortress. Elect Hart Leroy, the man of the people. I think that's preaching to the choir around here. Don't these people have jobs they need to go to?
Nö.
Do you suppose that's for keeping protesters out or the yard workers in?
mark
Beides.
my words, the HMS Lenore will not fly. And so we say to Harris and his cronies, no, we will not stand for this.
Wir können noch
Too
ein
many
bisschen
have
bleiben.
died
Das,
to allow this to continue.
das
Steam tech must
anhören.
be
I suddenly one is and the other is the But the way this gate elect Hart
The time has come to reject steam machines.
rich people.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Welcome to LaFay Lenders. I'm the owner, Chester LaFay. Are you looking to take out a loan?
Not today, I'm afraid. I'm Miles Fordham, a private investigator.
Look, I don't know what you've heard, but I run a clean business here. I don't need any trouble.
And I'm not here to cause any, for the moment.
Just keep your nose where it belongs. We should get along fine.
So.
Do you suppose LaFay turns the heat up to put some pressure on his clients?
Warum sollte er?
Must be soothing for LaFay to be able to look at this landscape while he sits at his desk.
Und auf diese tolle Ziegelmauer. Wunderschön.
That's the latest model Computron. They don't come cheap. LaFay must be doing pretty well for himself. That's the latest model Computron. They don't come cheap.
Okay.
LaFay must be doing pretty well for himself.
Okay.
He actually has a degree in business from the University of New Britannia? What a waste. LaFay with a woman and a small girl. I wouldn't have taken him for a family man. A crew escaping a shipwreck on a violent sea. Not the most comforting painting to look at while waiting for a loan. I shudder to think how many people's financial freedoms are locked away in that cabinet.
Was ist das denn? Sprechen wir mal mit dem Herrn.
Mr. LaFay, I'd like to ask you some questions.
Fine, but keep it brief.
Tell me what you know about Malcolm Harris.
Ah, Mr. Harris. Took out a loan about a month ago. Still hasn't paid me back. In fact, he sent along a letter yesterday, saying he was having an emergency and needed more time. I probably should have refused to do business with him. As soon as he walked through the door, I could tell his type.
What type is that?
Upper class, bored with his life, trying to escape and doing it through vice. In his case, gambling.
This guy is good. Maybe you can pursue money lending if the whole private investigator thing doesn't work out.
But for some reason, I pitied him and decided to give him the loan anyway. Compassion isn't exactly an asset in this business, you see.
Nothing to worry about in your case, then.
Aside from that, I don't know anything about him. I prefer to keep how much I know about my clients to a minimum. Makes things easier for me.
Are you aware that Malcolm's son, Charles, was kidnapped last night?
I had no idea he even had a son. As I said, I don't ask my clients too many personal questions. Though now you've told me, I suppose that would explain the emergency he mentioned in his letter. Poor guy.
Exactly how much did Mr. Harris borrow from you?
Is that relevant to your investigation?
It would help to have an idea of exactly how much he owes you, yes.
I don't feel comfortable telling you the exact amount, but I will say it was over 500 crowns.
A considerable sum.
Like I said, I probably shouldn't have done it, but I'll get the money back one way or another.
What's your policy regarding people who don't pay their loans back?
There are a few options. For the first 3 months or so, I'll send them a letter reminding them. After that, I start to threaten them with legal action. You wouldn't believe some of the things people do to avoid paying back their loans. One client went so far as to fake his own death.
Do you ever employ any more unusual methods?
Now wait just a minute. I see where this is going. Mr. Fordham, I'm a family man myself. If you're implying that I would stoop to kidnapping someone's child as collateral...
I never said that, Mr. LaFay.
Look, I have a family to consider. I'm not about to go getting my hands dirty when there's plenty of legitimate ways to handle the situation.
Take a look at this piece of fabric. Does it look familiar to you?
Sure, it looks like it came from a jacket. In fact, yes, it's the same fabric as the jacket I'm wearing.
Would you mind if I took a look at your jacket?
Sure, not a problem. Here.
Kann ich hier irgendwas finden? Fehlt hier vielleicht ein Knopf? Nö.
No tears in mine, huh?
Not a one. You clearly take good care of your clothing.
I don't mean to discourage you, Mr. Fordham, but I've seen a lot of people with this style of jacket. Hell, even Malcolm has one. I remember he was wearing it when he came in here.
I see. Thank you for the information, Mr. LaFay. I've got some more questions, Mr. LeFay.
Go ahead then.
Tell me a bit about yourself and your business, Mr. LeFay.
What's to tell? I lend people money, they pay me back.
Surely it's not that simple.
Well, of course I charge interest, otherwise I'd never make a profit. I know people don't look upon the service I provide very favorably, but without my help, there would be a lot more unhappiness in the world.
How did you go about starting up this business?
I didn't. My former employer, Mr. Roth, left it to me when he passed.
That was rather good of him.
Yes, well, he didn't have any heirs, and he considered me to be the son he never had. He was fond of my family, too. I try and keep my work and home life as far away from each other as I can, though. There's a lot of things in this line of work that my wife and daughter are better off not knowing about.
I think that's all for now.
Okay, gut.
Do you
Also, was ist gut? Keine Ahnung, was ich jetzt genau...
Too dark to tell what's inside. They must enjoy the somber atmosphere.
Yes? May I help you?
Hello, ma'am. My name's Miles Fordham, and I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Are you with the police?
No, I'm a private investigator.
I'm terribly sorry, darling, but I simply don't have the time right now.
Doch,
Perhaps
nein,
if you
haben
come
Sie.
back next week, I'll be able to answer your questions then.
This is the Spectre Society, right? I'm interested in joining.
Ah, yes, it is. Welcome, darling.
Das ist
Our
auch gar nicht
membership
komisch.
process is a bit different to most social clubs. We require a sponsor.
Sounds simple enough.
Well, you see, we ask that sponsors be people who have passed on into the spirit world. Once you name your sponsor, I will attempt communication beyond the ether. When they answer, you will be judged and considered for membership.
What are you looking for in a sponsor?
A willingness to communicate from beyond the ether, open-mindedness, a desire for truth. In other words, all the qualities of a member of the Spectre Society. Actually,
Klingt wie eine
we've had
Sekte.
former members who have passed on act as sponsors before.
You're joking, right?
Communing with the spirits is no joking matter, darling. I suggest you take it a bit more seriously if you truly want to join this club.
Ja, ja, alles
Now,
gut.
do you have a sponsor or not?
I've got a sponsor.
Excellent. What is the name of your sponsor, darling?
Jonathan Davis is my sponsor.
You knew Jonathan? He was such a kind man. Yes, I can feel his presence, and it speaks positively of you. Please, come in, Mr. Fordham.
Hätte ich Bill
I
nehmen
am
sollen.
Angela Maxwell, the founder of the Spectre Society. Welcome. May I offer you some refreshments? Some water or tea, perhaps?
You're very kind, but I'm afraid I must decline right now.
Well, please let me know if you change your mind.
Would you look at this place? It's like a candy store for psychics.
Interessant. Passend dazu habe ich eben angefangen, Phasmophobia zu spielen.
There's quite a few
gucken.
members in this group.
Vielleicht werde ich das auch. Nein, werde ich nicht. Also definitiv nicht Let's Playen, um Himmels Willen. Angela Maxwell, Monica Brown, Sophie Shaw, Thomas Gilbert, Anna Walker. ja. Randall Faulkner, Henriette Davis. Da ist sie. Edward Lagrange. Cynthia Wilkins. Angela, the meeting was wonderful. Cynthia. Anyone interested in a used spirit board, please let Thomas know. Thank you. And looking forward to having you over at the Manor next week. Entschuldigung. Come around 8 p.m. and you can meet Charlie Henrietta. Please ask the spirits to cure my son's illness, Sophie.
Those are some creepy twin girls. I could see a passing resemblance to Miss Maxwell, actually. A great man once said to me, Bill, you aren't going to get very far in life just staring at balls. He's dead now. But then again, so am I.
I think I've seen one of these before. What does it do?
It's a spirit board. We use it to contact spirits, and they in turn spell out a message with the letters on the board.
Well, I've got a message from Miss Maxwell if she ever tries to use a spirit board around me.
What a fascinating device. Exactly what does it do?
That is an etherometer. It's designed to pick up vibrations from the ether and translate messages from the spirits.
I never much cared for all that mystic stuff. Why should your life be dictated by a bunch of cards?
Richtig.
Must be for the more traditionalist members. Must be for a great man. He's dead.
I think I've...
Well... Ooh, spooky. That ghost between the two people almost manages to look convincing. That's probably the storage case for the spirit board. That's... What a ridiculous contraption. People will do anything to make a quick crown.
Aha, mal wieder Bücher lesen. Oh Gott. Das lese ich jetzt nicht alles vor, tut mir leid. Astralkörper. Ägypter. Etheric Travel. Was? Metempsychosis? From the Greek meta, expressing change, and psyche, soul, refers to the philosophical idea of transmigration of the soul at the time of death. That is to say, the reincarnation of the soul in another human or animal. Aha. From medieval Germany, where two feuding families both met their ends. The last of one line was suspected of setting the other's stables on fire, during which the other perished. Soon after, a white horse took up residence at the surviving family estate. Was ist das denn? The art of seance, yeah. Conducting a seance is not a matter to be taken lightly. When making attempts to contact those in the spirit realm, many precautions must be observed. So, the board is used as follows. Das Ouija board. One to all of the participants in the seance place 1 or 2 fingers on the planchette, which is in the middle of the board. The appointed medium asks questions of the spirits with whom they are attempting to communicate. Toll. Was war das? Terrors of the Deep, the Giant Squid. The Giant Squid, or Archaeopteryx, is one of many terrors of the deep. It has never been seen by humans, falsch, and all evidence of its existence has been found washed ashore or in the belly of the squid's natural enemy, the sperm whale. Researchers have theorized that the giant squid can grow as large as 100 75, Hilfe, englische Zahlen. Feet, 53 Meter. Das ist übrigens falsch. Also man hat die ja in Walen gefunden. Und die längsten Exemplare, die man in Walen gefunden hat, sind, glaube ich, so 15 Meter lang. Und es gibt aber Abdrücke auf Pottwalen. Das sind diese Sperm Whales wahrscheinlich. Die Pottwalen ihre natürliche Fressfeinde sind und die sich beim Fressen natürlich wehren und hinterlassen dann eben Abdrücke auf der Haut der Wale. Und diese Abdrücke wachsen mit den Walen mit. Das heißt, wenn man sehr große Abdrücke auf Walen findet, sind die schon sehr alt. Und der Wal war noch sehr jung, als er sie bekommen hat. Und daher kommen wahrscheinlich diese 53 Meter. Genau, die Suction Cups. Also so groß werden die dann auch nicht. Und nichts mit Schiffe essen. Oh, Voodoo! The religious practices commonly known as voodoo originated in Africa, but have seen a migration in recent years. First moving to the West Indies, it spreads after a revolt in Santo Domingo. Santo Domingo caused a wave that escaped and freed slaves to migrate to Vespuccia. For years, the religion was practiced in secret, but emerged as a more widely accepted faith after the abolition of slavery in 1840. The largest concentration of practitioners of voodoo in the city of New Britannia, particularly the borough of Gascogne. Ja, sketch of a common gris-gris push. The basic gris-gris. Grau-grau, okay. The basic gris-gris is always contained in a leather pouch. The ingredients vary depending on the design. Gris. Was ist denn das?
Chicken bones and dust for bad luck in business, huh? That sounds awfully familiar.
Warte, stand das da? To bring someone bad luck in business, the gris would contain chicken bones and graveyard dust. Aha. Mediums, gateways to the spirit realm. Communication with the spirit realm is most often achieved via the help of a medium. A fairly common practice employed to communicate with the dead is the séance, in which the medium tries to establish contact with the dead in the presence of a small to medium-sized group of people. The general opinion is that a greater amount of energy provided by living beings will establish a stronger connection to the spirit world. A medium is someone who can speak to the dead. Two types exist, mental and physical. The mental medium tunes into the spirit world and relays messages by sensing or seeing spirits. The physical medium is able to produce manifestations of spirits, apparitions, knocks, bell rings. Okay. What lies beyond the veil? To those who would claim that what lies beyond the veil is my only madness, I ask you, is it madness to gaze upon the face of the others? Those who can provide us with the cosmic knowledge of the ones who came before us, where we are headed and what purpose we serve. Look beyond, remove the blindness of logic and reason, and embrace the unknown. For here is where the truth ultimately lies, not in some rigid textbooks. You must open your mind and attune your sense in order to perceive what is really there. For beyond the veil lies all. Aha, gut.
It's nice of Miss Maxwell to let people borrow her books, even if they are all just a bunch of nonsense. And coming from me, that's really saying something.
The Mysteries of Spontaneous Combustion. Warte mal, hatten wir es davon nicht auch schon? Spontaneous human combustion is a highly controversial subject, but it remains popular among scholars and aficionados. What's Spanish in this, and aficionados of the occult and unexplained. The term refers to the death from a fire originating without any apparent source of external ignition. The fire is believed to start within the body of the victim. Ist übrigens, glaube ich, auch falsch. Also das gibt es nicht. symbolism. Secrets of the Tarot. The Magician. The central figure depicts someone with a hand pointed to the sky, while the other hand points to the ground, as if to say, as above, so below. This is a rather complicated phrase, but its summarization is that Earth reflects heaven, the outer world reflects within, the microcosm reflects the macrocosm, Earth reflects God. Oh God, I'm pretty thin. The ether, which is to say the outer void, is the primary channel through which spirits can travel and communicate with the living. This unseen dimension exists in conjunction with ours, but can only be accessed by people gifted with the sight or special communication tools. Irgendwas, was ich übersehen habe.
The plaque says Leonora Pattinson, seer. She looks like someone I would not want to fool around with.
Wieso? Kerzen.
I never much cared for.
Okay.
Could I ask you about some things, Miss Maxwell?
Certainly, darling.
Hat sie mich gerade Darling genannt?
What can you tell me about the Spectre Society?
Where to begin? I formed this club 2 years ago, right after I moved to New Britannia. During our meetings, we discuss our experiences with paranormal phenomena and organize investigations.
What sort of investigations?
We look into places all around the city which have been reported as haunted. New Britannia is teeming with the spirits of those killed during the French and British takeovers of the city. Not only that, but there is a prevalence of mystic religious practices here in Gascony, brought over by immigrants from the Antilles.
Fascinating.
There are plenty of books on the subject over there in the bookcase, if you're interested in learning more.
Do you know anything about the kidnapping of Charles Harris?
I'm afraid I haven't heard anything about any kidnappings, darling. If you wish, I can commune with the spirits and see if I can help locate your missing person.
That won't be necessary, Miss Maxwell, though I appreciate the offer. I spoke with Henrietta Davis, and she mentioned one of your other members, Linda Walker. Can you tell me anything about her?
Ah, Linda. Poor dear. Of all our members, she is the one I feel for the most.
Why is that?
She's had a tragic life, but I believe the Spectre Society has helped her greatly. Not only has she made a good friend in Henrietta, she's also dealt with her grief in a positive way. She has devoured my collection of books, educated herself on many subjects. I would say she's become an expert on clairvoyance and metempsychosis. It's always nice to know that the club can help those who have suffered.
Do you see her often?
Yes, she comes by about once or twice a week.
What can you tell me about Linda and Henrietta's friendship?
It's so lovely to see them together at the meetings. They're practically inseparable.
Friendship.
It's quite sweet. They often leave messages for each other in the guest book.
Hab's
When
gesehen.
Linda found out that Henrietta was taking care of an infant, she even gave her a toy bear for the child. I remember Linda lighting up with excitement when she asked about him. She really loves children. It's such a terrible shame about... But please, let's discuss something more pleasant, shall we, darling?
Nein.
I'm sorry, what was it you said? Madam Psy, what?
Metempsychosis, darling. It's a philosophical term which comes from ancient Greece. It refers to the transmigration of the soul after death.
Is that anything like reincarnation?
Essentially, yes. There's a book on the subject over in the bookcase, which can tell you far more than I possibly could.
What's this tragic story about Linda you mentioned?
Oh, dear. I probably shouldn't say.
Doch.
Miss Maxwell, I'm going to be frank. I'm investigating a kidnapping, and Mrs. Walker is a person of interest. I need to know as much about her as possible to help me solve this case. Do I make myself clear?
Well, if it will help, Linda was married to a man named Thomas. Together, they had a son named Alexander. Thomas revealed himself to be a terribly cruel man. When he gave himself over to the drink, he would fly into rages and beat both Linda and the boy. One day, she came home to find both her son and husband dead.
My God, what happened?
The police ruled it a murder-suicide. Poisoning, apparently. Linda has been trying to make contact with Alexander's spirit for the past year or so, but has had no luck. It really is a terrible tragedy.
Do you know Linda Walker's address?
Bitte.
I'm afraid not, darling.
Schade.
Linda has always been somewhat private, and that's not something I consider to be crucial information.
Do you know any way I can find her?
You could always come back for our next meeting. It will be the first Thursday of next month.
By then, we'll have completely lost track of Charles. There has to be another way of finding Linda.
What made you decide to start up this club?
I began communing with the spirits at a very early age. My twin sister, Rachel, died after falling into an icy pond when we were 8 years old.
I'm very sorry, Miss Maxwell.
Oh, I appreciate your sympathy, darling, but don't feel too bad. Rachel began speaking to me shortly after that. She has served as my spirit guide ever since.
Spirit guide? You mean you still speak with her?
Oh, yes. Every day. In fact, I was just speaking with her before you arrived. As I grew older, I realized there were others in the world who were also able to communicate with spirits, and those who had an interest in what lies beyond the ether. And so, once I moved to New Britannia, I decided to start up this club so we could gather and share our experiences.
Do you suppose she can hear what I'm saying? Hey, Angela, try a bit less eyeshadow, would you? You look like a purple raccoon. Nothing. Clearly a fraud. Ah, well.
Das ist so gut.
I was wondering,
Yes?
when you communicate with the spirits, are you able to stop?
If I wish them to leave me, yes. I bid them farewell, and they usually depart back into the ether.
What about the more persistent ones?
You do remember I'm right here, don't you?
Well, just between you and me. Those spirits are best dealt with by having the other kind of spirits. Quiets them right down.
I prefer soporific myself.
Oh? You hear the voices of the spirits as well, Mr. Fordham. But of course, now the reason for your visit to the Spectre Society is obvious. Do you see? All our paths eventually become clear. I'm glad yours has brought you here.
Oh, wonderful. Now she started rhyming. Don't get any funny ideas about telling her about me. She may be a lunatic, but that's no reason to expose yourself as one too.
I don't hear the voices of all spirits, just one.
Miles, what are you doing?
Ah, you have a spirit guide. Please, tell me more, darling.
I wouldn't call him a spirit guide so much as a spirit nag.
This is a very, very bad idea.
Vielleicht,
Do you
ja.
know who this spirit is?
Yes, it's my former detective partner, Bill. I shot him on our last case together.
You shot him?
He was on a roof being held at knife point by a burglar. They were too close. I took the shot, but missed, and hit my partner instead.
Oh my, you poor darling. Is he angry with you?
Ja, weil ich erzählt
Well, he
habe.
is now. He doesn't think it's a good idea to tell others about him. But normally, he's the same as he was in life. He just wants me to find the man responsible for his death.
Stimmt schon,
I've
das
told
ist
him
schon
I'm
komisch,
really
mit
the
diesem
one
Medium zu
responsible,
sitzen
but he insists
und
it's a burglar.
I
der oder
see.
die Einzige zu
This is
sein,
quite
der
an
den Geist
unfortunate
tatsächlich
situation.
hört.
My advice to you is this. Spirits often know best. You do well to listen to him about keeping his presence to yourself. Not everyone is as open-minded as we members of the Spectre Society.
Huh. Maybe I misjudged her.
I know. It's been hardest keeping this from my wife, but I can't drive her away. She's all I've really got left.
Your story has touched me, Mr. Fordham. I will do everything I can to help you and your spirit guide find peace. If I find anything out which might help you, I will contact you personally.
Thank you, Miss Maxwell. I appreciate it.
Well, that could have turned out much worse. I'm warning you, Miles. Tell anyone else about me, and I won't be so forgiving.
Okay,
Thank you for the
ich tu's
information.
nicht.
It was very enlightening.
It was my pleasure, darling.
I'll be going now.
May the spirits guide you to that which you seek.
Vielen Dank.
I'm here.
Welcome home.
Ich sollte mal wieder mit ihr reden.
Addie?
What do you need, dear?
You weren't kidding about business picking up. You're averaging what, about 3 appointments per day?
More like 5. I told you, debutante ball season's busy.
Doesn't it get tiresome?
Not really. You'd be surprised at the sort of gossip I hear from my clients. I don't know what it is, but they just open up to me and tell me all kinds of personal things. You sure you don't want me to give you a trim?
I'm fine for now, dear. Thank you. I'd forgotten how good you are at écarté. You absolutely destroyed me the other night.
As I recall, you used to hold your own pretty well.
We should have another match soon. That way I can hone my skills.
Yes, we should. As long as you can concentrate, I'm sure you'll get as good as you used to be.
I can't believe the nerve of that narrow-minded old cow.
Who, Mrs. Delacroix? She's actually one of my nicest clients.
I don't know how you can tolerate her. If I were you, I'd strike her off my list.
If I did that for every one of my clients who thought the same as her, I'd be out of a job. That's just the way it is.
Maybe so, but it doesn't make it any less infuriating. Have you ever heard of a group called the Spectre Society?
I think I had a client once who mentioned it. They're some kind of spiritualist group, right?
So it would seem.
I don't really know anything else about them, sorry.
Shut up.
How are things going with you?
I'm a bit worried about some rumors I've been hearing.
Oh?
They're saying it won't be long before automated hairdressing devices are available to the public. Once that happens, it's going to be tough for me to keep getting jobs.
Automated hairdressing devices? How would those even work? Do they read your mind?
Doubtful. More than likely they'll have some kind of settings or just give everyone the same type of hairstyle.
I wouldn't worry too much, Addie. You're the best hairdresser in town. I doubt people will place their trust in some contraption over you.
You underestimate my clientele, Miles. They're mostly all rich socialites whose hobbies are buying the most expensive and modern things just to outdo their peers.
Sure.
They'll be sending their servants to line up for days before the things are released.
Perhaps, but they'll come running back to you once the machines stop working. You'll see.
I certainly hope so.
I'll let you get back to your book.
Oh, Mr. Fordham. Oh, thank God you're back.
What's going on?
Our butler just brought this in. He found it stuck to the gate outside.
Harry's family, we have your son. If you ever want to see him again, you must stop building the what? New airship. We are not joking.
I have some questions for you, Miss.
Yes, of course.
What is your opinion of this ransom note?
It's obvious who sent it, Mr. Fordham. Why are you wasting your time here? Go arrest Mr. Devons!
Those are all the questions I had for now.
All right.
I have some questions for you if you're up to answering them, Mrs. Harris.
I'll try my best, Mr. Fordham.
Did you read the ransom note?
No, Malcolm wouldn't let me. He said I was already too upset.
That's all for now, Mrs. Harris.
Very well.
I'll let you...
Wer war Arthur Devons nochmal?
Mr. Devons?
Yes?
Do you practice voodoo, Mr. Devons?
What?
The chicken bones and dust you send along with your letters. It's a voodoo spell meant to cause bad luck in business. Quite a convenient solution, wouldn't you say?
I don't know what you're on about.
Come now, Mr. Devons. I'd appreciate it if you didn't think I was stupid.
All right, fine. I went to go see one of them magic women in Gascon. She told me about the spell and what I needed to do. I don't believe in the stuff, but I thought maybe if I used it, I could scare Harris enough to get him to stop making the new airship.
Well, I don't mean to be one to put a damper on your amateur witchcraft, but it doesn't seem to be doing you much good.
No, his grandson got kidnapped. That's not something I'd call lucky.
Mr. Devons, can you tell me about this note?
I've never seen that before in my life.
Are you sure about that?
Absolutely. It's as I told you. I had nothing to do with that boy's kidnapping.
Ihm.
I didn't even know he existed until you told me. Remember?
Yeah. And that note conveniently showed up right after you had that conversation. Let him stew in his own lies. His unique way of spelling is all the evidence we need to tie him to the novel.
Very well, Mr. Devons. Forget I asked. Good day to you, Mr. Devons.
You too, Mr. Fordham.
This Arthur Devons Joker is bad news. Not only is he making threats to the Harris family, he also has the nerve to send a ransom note.
Ich weiß nicht.
We have enough evidence to pin the crime on him, I think. The police can deal with the headache of actually finding the baby.
Ich weiß nicht. Ich vergleiche die jetzt mal. Weekly reminder of we have I have. Es sieht nicht ganz so schlecht aus wie da. Also das sieht schlimmer aus als das. Ich muss Linda finden.
We won't stand for this injustice.
Ja, wer ist denn jetzt SS und warum muss ich das? Ach ja. C-W-E-L-H-D-R-F. Sophia Shaw. Sophia Shaw ist... Doch. Sophia Shaw.
There's quite a few.
Ja, und was hilft mir, wenn ich weiß, wer Sophia Shaw ist?
I'll be going now.
May the
Hello again, Mr. Fordham.
I have some questions for you, Mrs. Davis.
All right.
Mrs. Davis, have you ever had Linda visit you at the Harris Manor?
Oh, no, of course not.
Then would you care to explain your note to her in the Spectre Society guest book?
Please, Mr. Fordham, I didn't mean to lie to you. It's just that it gets so lonely by myself in the house at night. So every now and then, I invite Linda to come over for tea and some company.
I see. And when was the last time this happened?
2 nights ago? Please don't tell Mr. and Mrs. Harris, Mr. Fordham. If they found out what I was doing, they'd have me dismissed without a reference.
I won't, but I'd very much like to speak with Mrs. Walker. Do you have any idea where I can find her?
All I know is that she works as a seamstress at a shop in Lyon, but I don't know the name. I'm sorry, I can't be of any more help than that.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, you're...
Shop. Wie finde ich denn diesen Shop?
Can we talk?
Go on, I'm listening.
How's work going?
Hectic as usual.
Crime in this city seems to be getting worse and worse every day.
I suppose that's the price of progress.
God help us if they ever actually discover that ethericity stuff then. Things between you and Adelaide getting any better?
I'm really not sure. They haven't gotten worse, but things haven't been the same between us since Bill died.
Well, you need to figure things out, or everything is just going to explode in your face one of these days.
Thanks for the vote of confidence, Upton.
I'm merely speaking from experience. If I'd seen the warning signs of Harold sooner, it would have saved me quite the headache. At least your marriage seems like it's still worth saving.
What's the other case you mentioned? The one you said was a higher priority.
Well, it seems we might have a mass murderer on our hands.
You don't say.
What?
That's right. I didn't say because I shouldn't say. But so far, we've had 3 murders with a very similar MO in the past 2 months. Snelling is trying his hardest to keep it under wraps since the newspapers already caught wind of the first 2.
I don't envy the department there. I'm happy to stick with the missing persons and domestic disputes.
Entschuldigung. MO ist übrigens Mode Operation. Also der Modus operandi.
Can we go over my current case?
Of course. What have you got?
I found this torn piece of fabric at the crime scene. It's got an emblem with some initials on it.
I recognize that emblem. It's from Solomon Stitching, a little tailor shop in Lyon. My ex-husband had several jackets from there.
Sorry to dredge up old memories, but do you remember where they're located?
I believe it's on the corner of Bonneville Street and Surratt Avenue.
Fantastic. You're helpful as always, Upton.
Aha! Der Knopf.
Found this button at the crime scene. The child's nanny identified it as the eye of his stuffed bear.
Did you find the bear at the scene?
No, the kidnapper must have taken it as well.
Interesting.
Either the kidnapper is very compassionate, or it's someone who knew the child. I spoke with Henrietta Davis, the Harris family nanny.
A sensible place to start. What did she have to say?
She claims to have been unconscious when the kidnapping took place.
She must be an extremely heavy sleeper.
I don't believe so. The way she described it made it sound like she was drugged.
Interesting. Definitely worth looking into, I'd say.
Have you ever heard of the Spectre Society?
I think so. They're some sort of ghost hunting club, aren't they?
A spiritualist group, yes.
Don't tell me this case has taken a turn for the supernatural.
Not exactly. It's just come up as a potential lead.
Was hat denn Metempsychosis damit zu tun?
Are you familiar with the term metempsychosis?
No, what is it?
Apparently some mystics and philosophers maintain that it's a process whereby human and animal souls are transferred to new bodies upon death.
Fascinating. Some people have such queer ideas. What's that got to do with the kidnapping, though?
I'm not exactly sure yet.
Sometimes I'm jealous of all the odd things you detectives get to look into.
That's enough about the case for now.
Okay.
That's it,
Then
I better get to it.
He and his friend are having quite the reminds me of when Green's sulfur. Talk about false. Dr. Tennyson, these things. Dr. W. prevents. They should all. Professor Xander Cole. I really don't know. Simon Banks. I'm sure he's a lot. P.D. Preston's. I suppose if you and all that
metal just to serve.
Good day to you, sir. Welcome to Solomon Stitching. I'm Jonah Solomon. Please let me know if I can help you with anything.
You can.
quite the selection, but I doubt the typical clientele of this place buys off the rack. Isaac Samuels, the prime minister who freed the slaves. They say even his enemies wept on the day he died. I sure hope I get to meet him someday. That coat is so dull. I always prefer the ones with a bit more color.
Die Stimme klingt anders.
The design of that coat looks awfully familiar. The design of that... This guy has been in business forever. Isaac Samuels. I show... This guy has been in... The design of that coat... My grandmother had one like that. I think it was meant to be relaxing, but it always felt like my time was running out. Now that it has... Well, it actually is relaxing. Go figure. My grandmother... Now that... Impressive collection of pattern books. I wish I'd known about this guy when I was alive. I'd have asked him to make me a suit for my funeral. Judging from the position and the lock, this is likely where Mr. Solomon keeps his money. Impressive I wish I'd known about... That cloth will be a garment soon. A vest, by the looks of it. Or maybe I'm completely wrong, and it's a treasure map. That cloth or...
A treasure map.
Mr. Solomon?
Yes, sir. How may I be of service? Oh, let me guess. You're looking to replace that old coat. It looks like it's got quite a few stories it could tell me.
You should listen to the man, Miles. He clearly knows what he's talking about.
Not today, I'm afraid. There's still a few more stories it has left to tell. Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions.
Questions? Very well, but if they aren't about tailoring, I don't know how much help I'll be.
Oh Gott, viel.
This is a nice shop you have. I never even knew it existed.
Well, better late than never, I always say. Life has a funny way of always taking us where we need to go in the end.
True. Although I think it's easy to miss out on things from time to time.
Oh, of course. It's easy to overlook the details, but in the grand scheme of things, you'll end up where you need to be. And in this case, you ended up here. So, please, feel free to take a look around. Let me know if you find anything you like.
I found this piece of torn fabric with your emblem on it. Can you tell me anything about it?
Yes. Brown, wool, houndstooth. This is from one of the more popular jackets I sell.
And here I thought my ability to name ales within 5 seconds of tasting them was good. This fella has me beat.
Do you have any of them in stock currently?
Jeder sein
Well, sure, I've got one on the
Spezialgebiet.
display dummy over there.
Is there any way you can tell me who you've sold them to?
Ooh, I don't think so. I've sold at least 20 in the past month. As I said, it's a very popular style.
Is there anything you can tell me about this button?
Looks like it's made of wood. Not very well crafted either. Definitely not from one of my products.
Nicht?
How did you get into this business, Mr. Solomon?
I was always good with a needle and thread. When I was a boy in Poland, I would help my mother with her sewing. Then, during the war with Russia, I fixed uniforms and stitched up wounds. Not long after that, I moved to Vespuccia, settled here in New Britannia.
Das war ein
My first
Lebensweg.
shop was in the Chum, but thankfully, I was very successful and was able to move to Lyon. I won't lie to you, this location is much, much nicer. It's refreshing to not have to step over drunken hobos when I open and close the shop.
Oh, but that's part of the charm of owning a business in the Chum.
Not much else to say beyond that. My business is my life.
You seem very dedicated to your craft.
That's right. You won't see any of that newfangled steam-powered nonsense in here. Everything is done by hand and with care. I use only the finest quality materials and stitch every thread myself. And that's the way it's gonna stay as long as I'm around. It's worked for 45 years. There's no reason to change as far as I'm concerned.
Do you by chance employ a seamstress named Linda Walker?
I do, yes.
Is she here?
No, she has the day off today, but she'll be in tomorrow.
Would it be possible to have her address?
Begging your pardon, but why should I give it to you?
I'm a private investigator, and it's crucial to this case.
Well, as I said, she'll be here tomorrow. You can ask her then.
It really is a matter of some urgency.
I'm sure it can wait a day.
Nein.
But if it were really that urgent, I would think the police would be involved, not a private investigator. I'm not obligated to tell you anything, so please, let's move on before I lose my patience.
Please, Mr. Solomon, it's extremely important that I get Mrs. Walker's address.
So you said, but why should I?
She's my sister, and we've lost touch.
I thought you said you were a private investigator.
Well, yes, but
I don't appreciate it when people try to make a fool of me, Mr. Fordham. Because I'm a patient man, I'll let this pass for now. But if you try and pull one over on me again, I'll be forced to remove you from my store. Understood?
yes, sir.
You really need to work on your social skills, Miles.
I'll be taking my...
Very good.
Das war meine Chance, glaube ich.
I've got some more.
All right, I'll do my best to answer them.
Please, Mr. Solomon.
So you said...
I know
Oh?
Her son, Alexander, and mine were schoolmates. I just found a book he lent my son, and I wanted to return it. I've been trying to track her down for ages, and only just found out where she worked.
Oh, I see. It was a terrible tragedy what happened with her boy and her husband. I know how private Mrs. Walker is, but I'm sure she would appreciate you returning her son's book. All right. She lives at 403 St. Agnes Street.
Klar, eben hat's...
Remember when you couldn't even bring yourself to trick people into thinking their shoelaces were untied? You've come a long way, Miles.
I'll be taking my leave of you now, Mr. Solomon.
Very good.
This machine is quiet. It's already gone up considerably in my estimation.
You could learn a thing or two from it, Bill.
It says here that Linda Walker is in the upstairs apartment, and someone named Douglas MFBL is under the stairs. It says here that some people would call that humming and hissing the sound of progress. I'd call it annoying.
Klingen wir mal bei dem Nachbarn.
What? Who are you? Are you from the Steamworks?
Afraid not, sir.
Damn. Oh well, what can I do for you?
Why did you think I was from the Steamworks?
Because I contacted them a few days ago when my boiler broke, and nobody has come to repair it yet. I should have known better. Those fools always take their time, if they even bother showing up at all. Meanwhile, I'm stuck in here with nothing but cold water. If I catch pneumonia and die, you'll know who to blame.
Ich will bekommen... Ja, okay, was?
Do you know Linda Walker?
Of course. She lives upstairs. Who's asking?
I'm Miles Fordham. I'm trying to find Linda so I can speak with her.
What's your business with her?
I'm afraid that's private.
Well, she's out right now. You'll have to come back another time if you want to visit her.
Have you got any idea when Mrs. Walker will be back?
Not for a few days. She told me she was going away for a bit. Ah, that reminds me. She asked me to water her plants while she was gone. Just need to remember where I put the spare key.
Did you say something about having a spare key to Mrs. Walker's apartment?
Sure. I'm her landlord. I look after the place when she's gone. Got a bit of a green thumb, that one, so she puts me in charge of watering her plants. The trip up is a bit of a pain, though. My hips aren't what they used to be.
I'm a private detective, and it's of the utmost importance that I get that key from you.
Right. Private detective. I don't have to do anything you say. You're not really the law. So, nice try. But I'm not betraying Mrs. Walker's trust so easily.
Doch.
He says that now, but I'm willing to bet he'd do it if it benefited him in some way.
Sorry to bother you, sir. I'll just be on my way.
Miles, what are you doing? You don't know the first thing about steam engine repair.
It can't be that hard to work out.
If you're serious about getting it fixed, I'd suggest looking for someone who knows about this sort of thing first. But if you just want to charge in blindly, be my guest.
Wen könnte ich fragen, der mir helfen kann?
Do you know anything about fixing a steam boiler?
Warum
An odd
er?
question, isn't it?
I thought perhaps you might have occasion to fix your heater.
I do, but when the occasion comes, I usually just call a repairman or someone from the Steamworks.
Fair enough. I think that's all for now.
Ich werde jemanden finden, der mir hilft, dieses Ding zu reparieren. Wenn es Mr. Solomon's Stitching ist.
Good.
Addie?
What do you need, dear?
Ich brauche
Addie,
jemanden, der
you
meinen
wouldn't
Boiler
happen to have any
repariert.
manuals on repairing steam engines in your library, would you?
Thinking of changing careers?
No, there's just a boiler that needs repairing and I need to figure out how to do it.
A boiler? What kind of engine is it?
I'm not sure, but it had Whitney 200 embossed on the side.
Oh, of course. That's one of the most common steam engines around, used in practically everything. In fact, the player piano at the Firkin and Fryer had one, and that thing was always going out of alignment. If that's all that's happened with this one, I know how to fix it. Used to have to do it all the time.
Adelaide Fordham, you are just full of surprises.
Where is the spoiler?
Not terribly far. It's a townhouse on St. Agnes in Livingston.
Let's go then. I could use some fresh air.
Nice.
Not quite a player piano, but it shouldn't be too tough. Would you like me to walk you through it, or would you prefer I fix it myself?
Please, tell me what I need to do.
All right, let's take a closer look. Right, the first thing you'll want to do is open up the firebox door and light that coal on fire. And it'll be a good idea to open the engine hatch too, so you can keep an eye on it.
Find fuel source.
That was easy enough. What's next?
Now you want to open the flue and close the fire door so the water in the tank starts boiling. Once that happens, steam will enter the dome, and that big pressure indicator will start going up. Assuming the steam valve is completely shut, of course.
And if it isn't?
Then the pressure will be transferred into the engine and the small indicator will go up. You want to use the valves to balance out the pressure and get just the right amount into the engine before starting it up.
And what is the right amount?
If I remember correctly, it was 3 on the small gauge. Less than that and the engine won't start. Any higher will tear the thing apart.
All right, here goes nothing.
These pipes are connected.
It won't go any further in that direction. It won't go any further. It won't go any It won't go any further. It won't go any further. It won't go any further.
These pipes are connected to the flue. They must heat up the water in this overgrown tea kettle.
Oh.
It won't go any further. It won't go any further. It won't. It won't.
I don't think you should leave this thing unattended before you've made any repairs.
Dearest?
Yes?
Could you remind me of what I need to do to fix this thing?
Of course. First, light a fire in the firebox, open the flue, and close the door. When the water starts boiling, steam will go into the steam dome. If the steam valve is closed all the way, pressure will build up inside the dome. If it's fully open or halfway, steam will go into the engine. You'll need to play around with the small release valves and the steam valve to get the correct amount of pressure into the engine before starting it. As I recall, that should be 3 on the small indicator. Got it?
I think so. Actually...
All right.
Oops.
Are you all right?
Hab mich
Yes,
umgebracht.
just a bit of a bruised ego is all.
What the? My boiler! What have you done?
I do apologize.
You're one of those saboteurs, aren't you? One of those Redites.
No,
I'm calling the police, you no-good troublemaking bastard.
Oops.
Now you've really done it, Miles. Best not to stick around here too long.
I think this is an excellent time to be going, dearest. I have my appointment with Mrs. Lapone now, so I'll see you at home later.
Shit.
You really made a mess of that thing, Miles.
Das tut mir so leid.
He's not answering. Better not push your luck. It says here that Linda walked. Nobody home. Now what?
Ja, das habe ich richtig
Still
verkackt.
nobody home. Still nobody home. You're only gonna draw on some people. He's not answering. Better not push your luck.
Tja.
You really made a mess of that thing, Miles.
Das war halt meine Chance.
I'm ready to wrap this case up.
Okay, who's your prime suspect?
I believe it was Arthur Devens.
Who is he?
His
Das
wife
ist
was
so
killed in the
verkehrt.
Lygia disaster, and he harbors a hatred towards the Harris family because of it. Not only that, but he sent a ransom note and also confessed to dabbling in black magic. I think he took the child in retaliation, as well as to try and get the Lenore project cancelled. He may have also done it for other, darker reasons.
Do you know where the police can find him?
He's leading a protest in front of the airship yard in Chumley.
All right, Miles. I'll go through the proper channels and report your information as an anonymous tip. Your compensation should get to you in a few days. I'll keep you posted on any new cases that come up.
Excuse me?
What do you want, officer? We're protesting peacefully. You've got nothing on us.
I don't care about your protest, sir. I'm just looking for Arthur Devens.
Oh, well, that's me. What's your business?
Sir, I'm placing you under arrest for the kidnapping of Charles Harris.
What? But I had nothing to do with that.
Please come with me, and don't make this any more difficult than it already is.
What? No! Boys, help me! What are you, thief? I said help me! Fine. Just stand there and do nothing. I knew yous were all bark and no bite.
Come on, Mr. Devens. I'm sure your friends will get along just fine without you.
Addie, are you home?
Still at her appointment, it would seem. You know, Miles, I have to say, I'm proud of you.
Why's that?
It's because you actually listened.
So does this mean you'll keep quiet until morning?
I said I was proud of you. I didn't say you were getting a reprieve.
Then I need to figure out how I'm going to sleep through the night without the soporific.
You worry about that too much, Miles. You can sleep when you're dead.
You don't ever seem to.
That's because I slept quite enough when I was alive.
In any case, I need to clear my head. The best way to do that after a case was always going for a drink at the Angel.
The Angel? But you haven't been there since...
Since you died. But perhaps getting back into old routines will help.
Perhaps. It would be nice to see old Patrick again at the very least. Then it's settled. A drink or two at the Angel, for old time's sake.
Was mache ich denn in der Bar?
I have to say, it's been a real pleasure having you back, Miles. I was worried about you.
I appreciate your concern, Patrick. The past few months have been a bit rough, but it's good to be back in familiar territory.
Miles, can I ask you something?
What is it?
Well, it may be none of my business, and you can feel free to tell me to stuff it.
Enough with the preamble, Patrick. Just ask.
I know you quit the force, but why are you still working as a private investigator? Why not leave all that detecting stuff behind?
It's just something I have to do. If I don't, I'll go crazy.
It's rare to meet someone so dedicated to their profession.
No, it's not that. It's something else. It's really not worth getting into.
Fair enough, fair enough. Just figured I'd ask. Now then, will you be wanting another drink?
I'm not sure. I've already had 2. I should probably be getting... Wait a minute. Patrick, do you hear something?
No, Miles. I don't hear anything.
Neither do I. Another gin, if you please.
Coming right up.
Ich weiß nicht, ob das der richtige Weg ist, um Bild aus meinem Kopf zu kriegen.
I must have taken a wrong turn back there. Hopefully Addie won't hear me come in.
Excuse me, sir. Could you spare a shilling?
Nein.
You should really get a job. It's much better than begging on the streets.
Is it? Your job doesn't strike me as being very fulfilling.
I beg your pardon?
Just look at yourself. I may be a beggar, but even I feel sorry for you.
Do I know you from somewhere?
Yes, that's right. I'm your biggest failure.
What are you talking about?
Come now, Miles, you're not completely stupid. You think finding and catching me is going to make things better?
Yes, I do. I owe it to Bill, and that's enough to make it worth doing.
That's very touching. But you need to face reality. Let's say you do find me, and this grand chase finally ends. What do you do the next morning? You still have a dead partner, no real job. Your wife knows you've been keeping things from her. Even if you solve 100 cases, it won't relieve that empty feeling inside.
What's your point?
I'm all you've got, Miles. Once I'm gone, there'll be nothing left. So just admit it. You don't want to find me. Not really.
Bad dreams?
You could say that. My head. How many drinks did I have last night?
You're asking the wrong person. I was out after the first one.
It seems Miss Maxwell was right about the effects of spirits. Go figure.
Yeah, well, let's not make a habit out of it, all right?
So, you're up at last.
Is something the matter, Addie?
Oh, I see. You don't remember last night, do you? I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
I'm sorry.
Whatever may have happened, I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me.
Remorse comes before forgiveness, Miles. You don't even know what you're apologizing for.
Was it that bad? What exactly did I do?
It was nearly 2 when you burst in here, soused to the eyeballs from God knows where. I imagine you've probably forgotten that too. You were muttering something about peace and quiet and then proceeded to relieve yourself on my begonias before stumbling into bed.
Charming. I salute you, O Vice Admiral of the Narrow Seas.
Good God. How embarrassing. I'm so sorry, Addie. I don't know what came over me.
I don't either. I've never seen you in such a state, and I pray that I never will again.
I just bit off more than I could chew last night. I promise you, it won't happen again.
What possessed you to go out and get so drunk anyway?
I decided to stop taking the soporific. It was interfering with my ability to focus on cases. I thought perhaps having a drink or two would help me sleep, and I got a bit carried away.
I see. Well, I'm at least glad you've stopped taking that terrible medicine. But trading it for alcohol? This had better really be a one-time occurrence. Anyway, you got another message from Upton. It's there on the table, if you're feeling fit for the world now.
Gut, ich glaube, das reicht erstmal. Neuer Fall. Brauche ich jetzt doch nicht so richtig. Gut, ja. Dann, Moment. Save. Sehen wir uns beim nächsten Mal. Hoffentlich diesmal dann keine so ganz so lange Folge. Und ja, ich speichere jetzt mal, weil ich paranoid bin. Und wünsche euch noch einen schönen Tag. Bis dann. Tschüss.